My name is Christina, and for 3 years I was the invisible woman at Sterling and Associates, one of the most prestigious consulting firms in the city. Every morning at 7 a.m. sharp, I'd arrive at the gleaming downtown office, brew the coffee, organize the files, and prepare for another day of being treated like furniture. Marcus Sullivan, the senior partner, was everything you'd expect from a man who'd inherited his position rather than earned it. Tall, silver-haired, with a smile that never reached his eyes, and a voice that could freeze hell over when he was displeased. To him, I wasn't Christina Williams, the woman with an MBA from Northwestern who'd taken this job to get her foot in the door. I was just the girl who fetched his dry cleaning and made his lunch reservations. "Christina, where's my coffee?" became his morning greeting. Never "good morning" or "how are you," just demands, delivered without even looking up from his phone. The other partners weren't much better. James Hartford would snap his fingers when he wanted me to take notes. Patricia Vance would literally hand me her personal shopping lists during business meetings, and whenever clients were around, I became completely invisible, just a shadow moving around the office, refilling water glasses and pretending I didn't hear their condescending jokes about the help. But here's what none of them knew. I was listening. I was always listening. While Marcus thought I was too stupid to understand anything beyond basic tasks, I was absorbing every conversation, every phone call, every whispered strategy session. My desk was positioned perfectly to overhear everything, and they never bothered to lower their voices around me because, in their minds, I was too insignificant to matter. I learned about their client relationships, their financial struggles, their personal scandals, and most importantly, their complete incompetence when it came to actually running the business. The firm was bleeding money, losing clients, and desperately trying to land one massive merger that would save them from bankruptcy. The merger was with Hartwell Industries, a family-owned manufacturing empire worth over $2 billion. Old Mr. Hartwell was looking to modernize his operations and needed a consulting firm to guide the transition. It was the kind of contract that could set Sterling and Associates up for life, or destroy them if they lost it. Marcus had been courting this deal for 8 months, flying to Chicago twice a month, whining and dining the Hartwell executives, promising them the world, but I could see what he couldn't. They weren't impressed. The presentations were sloppy, the research was surface level, and Marcus's arrogance was turning them off. I knew because I'd been the one typing up his notes, booking his flights, and organizing his presentations. I'd also been the one secretly researching Hartwell Industries in my spare time, learning everything about their operations, their challenges, their family dynamics, and their long-term goals. That's when I started planning. 6 months before the final merger decision, I began my transformation. I'd saved every penny from my meager salary, and I used it to invest in myself. Professional wardrobe, advanced Excel training, project management certification, and most importantly, I started my own consulting company on the side. Williams Strategic Solutions was born in my one-bedroom apartment, operating out of a card table and a laptop I'd bought secondhand, but I had something Sterling and Associates didn't: actual insight into what Hartwell Industries needed. While Marcus was busy taking credit for my research and presenting cookie-cutter solutions, I was developing a comprehensive strategy that addressed Hartwell's real problems. I understood their supply chain issues, their workforce challenges, and their expansion goals because I'd been paying attention while everyone else was performing. The breakthrough came on a Tuesday morning in March. Marcus was screaming at me because his coffee was too hot. Yes, too hot. When his phone rang, it was Robert Hartwell Jr., the CEO's son, calling to inform him that Sterling and Associates was no longer being considered for the merger consultation. I watched Marcus's face go white as Robert explained that they'd found another firm, a smaller, more specialized company that actually understood their business model and had presented innovative solutions rather than generic corporate speak. "What firm?" Marcus demanded, his voice cracking. "Who did you choose?" "Williams Strategic Solutions," Robert replied. Their presentation was extraordinary. They knew our industry inside and out, and their lead consultant, Christina Williams, impressed my father more than any consultant we've met in 30 years. The phone slipped from Marcus's hand and clattered to the floor. He stared at me with the expression of a man who'd just realized he'd been outsmarted by someone he considered beneath his notice. "You," he whispered, "you did this." I smiled and calmly collected my personal items from my desk. "I did. You see, Marcus, while you were treating me like I was invisible, I was learning everything about your business, your clients, and your failures. Hartwell Industries isn't just hiring me for the merger. They're bringing me in as their new director of strategic operations, effective immediately." The office had gone completely silent. James, Patricia, and the other partners were staring at us, like we were speaking a foreign language. "The coffee girl," Patricia gasped. "But you're nobody." "I was nobody to you," I corrected. "But while you were dismissing me, I was building relationships, developing expertise, and proving my worth to people who actually recognize talent when they see it." Marcus's face was turning red. "You can't do this. You signed a non-compete agreement." I'd pulled out a folder from my bag and placed it on his desk. "Actually, I didn't. You never offered me one because you never considered me important enough to be a competitive threat. These are copies of all the documents I never signed, including the partnership track agreement you told me wasn't available to support staff." The folder contained something else too: documentation of every time they'd asked me to handle tasks outside my job description, every personal errand they'd made me run, and every piece of actual consulting work they'd had me do without credit or compensation. "You're also going to be hearing from my lawyer," I continued. "Turns out there are laws about misclassifying employees and requiring them to perform professional duties without proper compensation. The Department of Labor is very interested in companies that exploit their workers." James tried to salvage the situation. "Christina, let's be reasonable here. We can work something out. Maybe a promotion, a raise." "Too late," I said, shouldering my bag. "Mr. Hartwell Sr. is expecting me in Chicago tomorrow morning to begin the transition process. My starting salary is more than Marcus makes as senior partner, plus equity and bonuses. Oh, and they're also interested in hiring away some of your other clients who've been dissatisfied with Sterling and Associates service." That was the final twist of the knife. As I walked toward the elevator, I could hear Marcus on the phone, frantically trying to call other clients to secure their contracts, but it was too late. Word travels fast in the consulting world, and my success with Hartwell was already generating buzz. Within 3 months, Williams Strategic Solutions had grown to 15 employees and had secured contracts with 4 of Sterling and Associates' former major clients. The company that had treated me like invisible furniture was forced to lay off half their staff and move to a smaller office. Marcus, stripped of his senior partner title and reduced to a junior consultant role, sent me several emails begging for a job. I never responded. The last I heard, Sterling and Associates was being investigated for multiple labor violations and was facing a class action lawsuit from former employees who'd been similarly exploited. Patricia Vance was working as a freelance consultant from her home office, and James Hartford had moved back to his hometown to help run his family's hardware store. But the sweetest revenge came exactly 1 year after I left. Hartwell Industries threw a celebration dinner to commemorate the successful completion of their merger and modernization project. As their new vice president of strategic operations, I was the guest of honor. The invitation list included representatives from major consulting firms across the city. including what was left of Sterling and Associates. Marcus showed up, probably hoping to network and salvage what remained of his career. When Mr. Hartwell Sr. introduced me as the brilliant young woman who transformed our entire organization, Marcus's face went through about 6 different shades of pale. The woman he'd dismissed as a glorified coffee fetcher was now being celebrated as one of the most innovative consultants in the industry. After the dinner, Marcus approached me near the coat check. "Christina," he said, his voice smaller than I'd ever heard it, "I just wanted to say, I'm sorry. I was wrong about you. Completely wrong." I looked at him, really looked at him, for the first time in years. The arrogant, domineering man who'd made my life miserable was gone, replaced by someone broken and desperate. "Marcus," I said calmly, 3 years ago, I would have done anything for just a little respect, a small acknowledgement of my contributions. All I wanted was to be seen as more than the coffee girl. But you and your partners made it clear that I would never be anything more than invisible furniture in your office." I paused, letting that sink in. "So thank you," I continued. "Thank you for underestimating me so completely that you never saw me as a threat. Thank you for dismissing me so thoroughly that you never thought to include me in your non-compete agreements. And thank you for treating me so poorly that I was motivated to build something better." I handed the valet my ticket and waited for my car, a sleek BMW that cost more than Marcus's annual salary at his current job. "The invisible girl you created," I said as my car pulled up, "became the woman who destroyed everything you built, and the best part, you did it to yourselves." As I drove away, I glanced in my rearview mirror and saw Marcus standing alone under the hotel lights, finally understanding that the person he treated as worthless had become invaluable to everyone except him. Sometimes the best revenge isn't getting back at people who wronged you, it's becoming so successful that their opinion of you becomes completely irrelevant. They dismissed me as nobody, so I became somebody they could never touch, never diminish, and never ignore again. The coffee girl had become the CEO, and there was no going back.